Yeah, I welcome you to Learn with Joes, an academy of knowledge economy. My name is Josephine, your digital educator, or I say your digital professor of Learn with Joes. I'm going to continue today on the discussion. Not discussion, on the teaching on the evidence of God's existence. I remember last Tuesday I mentioned two opposing views, not really opposing, but two views, the posterior and the priori. And I'm going to be stressing some of those points. So I will be starting today the cosmological arguments, because I'm now teaching on the arguments for God's existence. The arguments philosophers are putting forward in philosophy of religion for God's existence. But before I continue, let's join Learn with Joes. I welcome you back. I was talking on the posterior arguments and the priori arguments, but I'm starting today on cosmological arguments. Cosmological arguments for God's existence. And please join me as I present overview of cosmological arguments. Cosmological arguments are more firmly planted in empirical, a posteriori reflection, but some versions employ a priori reasons as well. There are various versions. Some argue that the cosmos had an initial cause outside it, that is a first cause in time. Others argue that the cosmos has a necessary sustaining cause from instant to instant. You see, the two versions are not mutually exclusive, for it is possible both that the cosmos had a first cause and that it also currently has a sustaining cause. The cosmological argument relies on the intelligibility of the notion of something which is not itself caused to exist by anything else. And this could be either the all-out necessity of supreme like people always say, they want to say the preeminence across all possible worlds using versions of the ontological argument, or a more local limited motion of a being that is on cause in the actual world. If successful, the argument will provide reason for thinking there is at least one such being of extraordinary power responsible for the existence of the cosmos. And when you think about it deeply, at best, it may not justify a full picture of the God of religion, which is a first cause, would be a powerful but not necessarily omnipotent. But it will nonetheless challenge naturalistic alternatives and bring one closer to theism. Both versions of the argument ask us to consider the cosmological present state. Is the world as we know it something that necessarily exists? At least with respect to ourselves, the planet, the solar system, and the galaxy, it appears not. With respect to these items in the cosmos, it makes sense to ask why they exist rather than not. In relation to scientific accounts of the natural world, such inquiries into causes make abundant sense and are perhaps even the essential presuppositions of the natural sciences. Some proponents of the argument contend that we know a priori that if something exists, there is a reason for its existence. So why does the cosmos exist? That's a question to ponder on. Why does the cosmos exist? If we explain the contingent existence of the cosmos or the stage of the cosmos only in terms of other contingent things, higher states of the cosmos, say, then a full cosmic explanation will never be attained. At this point, the two versions of the argument divide. Arguments to a first clause, that is, arguments to a first cause in time, contend that a continuous temporal regress from one or contingent existence to another will never account for the existence of the cosmos. And they conclude that it is more reasonable to accept there was a first cause than to accept either a regress or the claim that the cosmos just came into being from nothing. That's not possible. The cosmos cannot just come into being from nothing. It must have a first cause of existence. Arguments to a sustaining cause of the cosmos claim that explanations of why something exists now cannot be adequate without assuming a present, contemporaneous, sustaining cause. Hi. I think you're following what I'm saying. The arguments have been based on the denial of the all actual infinite, the acceptance of some infinities. For instance, the coherence of supposing there to be infinitely many stars, combined with the rejection of an infinite regress of explanations solely involving contingent states of affairs. The latter has been described as a vicious regress, as opposed to one that is benign. There are possible examples of vicious infinite regresses that do not regenerate explanations. For instance, imagine that I explain my possession of a book by reporting that I got it from A, who got it from B, and so on to infinity. This will not explain how I got the book. Alternatively, imagine a mirror with light reflected in it. Would the presence of light be successfully explained if one claimed that the light was a reflection of light from another mirror, and the light in that mirror came from yet another mirror, and so on to infinity? Consider the final case then. So you come across a word you do not understand. Let it be on GGT, on. You ask its meaning. Okay? You ask its meaning, and are given another word which is unintelligible to you, and so on, forming an infinite regress. Will you ever know the meaning of the first term? No. You give a word now. You just mention one word, call it from your head or somewhere. And somebody says, oh, what's the meaning of that word? And you are given another word that is as also unintelligible. And so on, forming an infinite regress. Would that ever explain the meaning of that first word you gave? No, it won't. The first of these cases is to show how similar they are to the regress of contingent explanations. Versions of the argument that reject all actual infinities face the embarrassment of explaining what is to be made of the first cause, especially since it might have been some features that are actually infinite. So in reply, Craig and others contended that they have no objection to potential infinities, although the first cause will never cease to be. It will never become an actual infinity. They further accept that power to the creation, the first cause, will not in time a position relying on the theory that time is relational rather than absolute. The current scientific popularity of the relational view may offer support to defenders of the argument. It has been objected that both versions of the cosmological argument set out an inflated picture of what explanations are reasonable. Why should the cosmos as a whole need an explanation? If everything in the cosmos can be explained, if you can explain everything that is in the cosmos, why then do you need to explain the cosmos itself? Though infinite, regressive accounts, what is left to explain? One may reply either by denying that infinite regresses actually do satisfactorily explain, or by charging that the failure to seek an explanation for the whole is arbitrary. Honestly, all these arguments, cosmological, teleological, and others, you need to take your time to digest and understand them, analyze them properly before you join or decide, or you say, oh, this is the argument that I tore into, or I came into this particular argument. So I'm going to continue next Tuesday with other arguments. Please be following me. That is not the fully cosmological argument, but that is the some aspect of cosmological arguments. So join me on Tuesday for continuation. Thank you. Have a very wonderful and blessed week. Love you all.